this to order. To remind everybody, please turn on your mics and speak clearly into them. And I think I'm jumping ahead, but just mention that. I'd like to welcome everybody for coming to the Planning and Zoning meeting. We appreciate it. There are agendas located on the table outside the double doors. This is a public meeting for which public notice has been provided. The proceedings are being televised and recorded. Can be viewed either on channel 192 or online Casper's YouTube channel. First, I'd like to read some information statements about the meeting. Use of cellular phones is not permitted, so if you have it on now, please silence them. I'd appreciate it. Such telephone shall not be turned off otherwise during the Planning and Zoning meeting. When speaking to the Planning and Zoning Commission, please clearly state your name and address. Please keep your remarks pertinent to the issues being considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Please do not repeat the same statements that were made by previous speakers. Please speak to the Planning and Zoning Commission as you would like to be spoken to. Please do not address applicants or other audience members directly. Please make your comments at the podium and direct it to the chairperson and Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd like to remind everyone present that the Casper Planning and Zoning Commission is a volunteer body composed of members of the Casper community and appointed by the Casper City Council. The commission acts as a quadruple panel making final decisions on some items and recommendations to the City Council on other by district by law. Or dedicated by law, sorry. The commission may only consider evidence about any case as it relates to existing laws. The commission cannot make or change plan and zoning laws, regulation, policy, or guidelines. I'd like to note that everybody other than Ms. Marabath is present. The first item on the agenda is consider for the minutes from the last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on November 10th, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we pass those minutes.
Thank you.
Second it.
Thank you. Are there any additions, corrections to the minutes November 10th, 2022 meeting? We already have a first and a second. Any discussion? Please cast your vote.
With all members voting aye, the motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda this evening are the scheduled public hearings. Before we get started, just a reminder to all the evening's applicants that it takes 4 affirmative votes to pass any item regardless of the number of commissioners present. If any applicant would like to postpone their case in anticipation of a possibility of more commissioners being present next month, then I would ask you to speak up when your case is announced. Case 1. The first public hearing tonight will be considered the case ZOC 310-2022 concerning a zoning change for a 3 lots of South Washington from R2 to an R3. The applicants are Tim and Cindy Steeritt. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Are the applicants present and do you wish to proceed?
Yes.
Thank you. Can we please get a staff report at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A zone change request has been received for 3 vacant lots on the east side of South Washington Street located approximately mid-block between 12th and Farnham Streets. The subject lots are currently zoned R2, 1-unit residential, and the property owners have requested a change to R3, 1 to 4-unit residential, in order to allow for the construction of multifamily structures. Each of the three platted lots is approximately 40 by 132 feet in size, totaling 5,280 square feet in area. Based on the minimum lot size requirement of 1,500 square feet per dwelling unit in the R3 zone, each lot could support a maximum of 3 units. Under the existing R2 zoning of the property, a maximum of 3 dwelling units could be constructed, which is 1 per platted lot. Existing zoning in the immediate area is R2 to the north, R2 to the south, C2 to the northeast, and R4 to the northwest. Existing land uses in the surrounding area south of East 12th Street are primarily single-family residential, with the exception of a church and a drive-through coffee shop located to the northeast and a church located to the northwest. Section 1712-170 of the Municipal Code provides guidance on zone change requests and requires that the Community Development Director provide a report to the Commission as to the request conformance with the Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The Comprehensive Land Use Plan, also commonly referred to as Generation Casper, was completed and adopted as official City of Casper policy in 2017. The plan was developed over a 1.5-year-long process of gathering public input and direction about how the community wants to develop over the next 20-year period. Chapter 3 of the plan provides visions, principles, goals, and implementation strategies. 4 applicable elements of the zone change request are listed in your staff report. I won't go through those individually. The Generation Casper Comprehensive Plan also provides a future land use plan, which is found in Chapter 4 on page 4-26. The future land use plan is an illustrative map that identifies physical distribution of land uses and forms the basis for future zoning and land use regulations. The future land use map designates the desired future use of the subject property as a neighborhood 3. Page 4-31 of the plan provides general characteristics of areas designated as a neighborhood 3, which are described as higher density neighborhoods near commercial centers and major corridors. Multifamily dwellings, including duplexes, are specifically listed as being permitted primary uses. Therefore, a rezone of the area to R3 would be in keeping with the guidance provided by the future land use plan. When considering zone changes in infill situations, a primary concern should be whether the proposal is compatible with the existing area. Neighborhood concerns often focus on impacts of traffic, parking, and aesthetics. The municipal code's requirements pertaining to buffering and off-street parking have been provided in the code compliance section of the staff report above. With regard to traffic impacts, South Washington Street is designed as a local street, and capacity is not currently a concern. Should the zone change be approved, it's staff's opinion that it would not have a noticeable effect on daily traffic or congestion. As the staff report notes, we had 1 letter of opposition, which was provided to the commission tonight in hard copy. And we have 6 exhibits to enter into the record. A is the application for a zone change. B, public notice sent to the property owners within 300 feet. C, legal notice sent to the Star Tribune. D, a photo of the public notice sign on the property. E, memo to the chairperson and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And F, letter of opposition from Lori Andrews. That concludes our report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the report, and the exhibits are noted. Does any of the commissioners have a preliminary question for the staff about the report? I have one. With this being mostly single dwelling around, is there other neighborhoods that would be a C3 looking at the same thing?
Would be
Three.
R3.
In R3, yeah. So most of them are R2s, 1 unit. Is there other neighborhoods that are mostly an R2, but then there's like one place that's an R3?
There's certainly, I can't think any off the top of my head. I know North Casper is kind of a checkerboard of zoning. Traditionally having a R3 in the middle of an R2 is not that common. However, in this instance, there is some nearby, as you can see from the zoning map on the screen right now, there are some nearby properties that are zoned for multifamily and commercial immediately adjacent to and in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Collins, what about, right across the street and over 2 blocks? It's R2, but I noticed there's a couple duplexes already in there.
Yeah,
Did they have to get a special zone change or what?
there's a couple ways that those could have predated the zoning map, which would be my guess, without knowing the exact history there. I'm just guessing, so, they could be considered non-conforming if they were there prior to the zoning, but legal and allowed to stay there. They could also have a conditional use permit, or the property could be zoned, appropriately.
Well,
So,
they're brand new apartment complexes.
yeah, if they're brand new, then they were probably zoned appropriately. So, because I don't recall any recent conditional use permits or anything.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, next I would like to ask the applicant or their authorized representative to come forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and explain your applicant to the commission.
Hi, I'm Tim Sterrett, and my address is 2305 South Poplar Street, Casper. So we purchased these properties about 10 years ago, and we've been trying to find some way that we can make good use of these properties. And originally we thought about building those for one of those duplexes for my mom and for my son. My son is blind with Asperger's syndrome, and my mother is getting older, and so we thought about putting a duplex in there for them, and then providing a living opportunity for them. And so that still is an option that we're looking at, but we thought that duplexes would be the best fit for that. We wouldn't be building out too far on anything and trying to, fitting. I know that we could put a threeplex in there, but we would really have to think about that. But we thought we found something that was going to be work for the city and what the design is, and I think we found something. And also it provides an opportunity for maybe a starter opportunity for a young couple moving in, retired folks. And then also there's also traveling nurses that we've discussed that also come into the area, and they need a place close to the hospital area. I do want to ask before I forget, on 11 or 1201, is that a threeplex in 1201 on 1201 South Washington, right on the corner there? I believe that.
Possibly.
I believe that is. So I just thought I'd mention that. And then the R4 zoning. The R4 zoning, that's high density residential, correct?
Yeah, R4 stands for high
That's
density residential.
virtually directly across the street from the properties that I'm requesting the zoning change to. So this is R3, which is not a high it's a multifamily, but it's not as high density as the R4 would be. So somebody could eventually build an R4, build a sixplex or something larger in that area right there across the street. So that's directly across the street. If from corner to corner, right there you have the 1231, our address, 1231, basically right across the street from 1224. So what we were looking at is an opportunity for that, and we thought maybe we have 3 lots. We thought we could build something there, which I believe would enhance, would enhance the value of the properties around them somewhat, and also would be aesthetically, new construction helps with the aesthetic value of the neighborhood. Parking should not be affected. You'll see that on the design of the duplexes, there is we're going to have a driveway along with the garage, so that's 2 spaces per unit. So that's off-street parking. And so that's, I don't know how much more information you'd like. I would like to reserve the right to respond to any public comment before I.
We will give you,
Questions to you folks that You were gonna ask, I apologize.
No, no worries, man. So we will give you an opportunity too, but in return, we will give them an opportunity. But we don't wanna drag it out too long, so, does anybody have any questions?
Mike had some.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are you going to be putting the duplexes on the lot sideways, or are the lots wide enough to put them on?
The lots are wide enough to put them, with the gable end on the front side. And I've seen a lot of places where you can put a single home on those, but they put the modular homes in sideways, and there's no front. You're looking at the side of the house, and personally, I don't like the look. I think it detracts from the neighborhood. Even if they're nice homes, it still detracts, and so we're still gonna have that front look, the facade on the front side, so it still looks like your typical neighborhood.
Thank you.
I have one question. Mr. Stewart, was that ours, the empty lot? Are you aware of anything on that lot in previous years that was tore down or something like that?
I've been told a lot of different things. I was told it was a laundromat at one time. But our lots were on the site where you go on the website, they are listed as commercial C2. And I don't know if that has anything to do with the past or not. But I did talk to the folks there at the office to let them know that when we found out it was R2 and tell them it was mislabeled, and they thought that maybe it was a past history there as zoned as C2. I know it's an R2 with an exception that you can combine the two of the lots to build a larger home. You can do that at present, but that would not work for the function that we would like to do for our build.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I was curious you're gonna put one duplex per lot?
Yes.
Will they be, how much space will be between
There'll be a 5-foot setback for on each side of each unit. There'll be a 5-foot setback, so we have enough, because the other 40-foot lots with the width of the 30 feet, we got the 5 feet on each side. And of which we'll use part of that for the fencing to build around we have the buffer zone for Appendix C. We have to consider that when we do multifamily, and we plan to have it landscaped with, some landscaping along with privacy fence.
Well, on the sides of the neighbor's property, how far will you be off the property line there? Will it be 5 feet on all sides? Is that what you're?
Well, we'll be 5 feet. We have to have it be at least 5 feet off of their property line, so we'll have 5 feet off of theirs and ours. Basically, it'll be a 10-foot between each unit. I think the one there is going to actually give us more than 10 feet, because they're actually further off the property line than typical. So I think they're 10 or 12 feet off of that. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing. I did not go over there and measure it, so. And then the last lot that's a vacant lot right now for the neighbor who lives behind our lots. Where the lots are, he has that and he uses that for parking. Now he is, so.
Well, I was going to ask about, thank you, Chairman Bates. The parking, it's a single car garage. They're each single car garages, and then
Yes.
another.
Then you'll have, we
Off-street
plan for the
parking at
25
front.
feet on the drive so that you have enough room to park a vehicle there. So you'll have, and that's considered 2 spots per unit.
And thank you. And could you also talk a little bit more about the landscaping?
Okay, well, the landscaping right now, as we view it, you're not going to have much side property. You're going to have 5 feet basically to the fence. But your rear, on our rear side, we plan to put fencing on the back side of that, and that's currently what we have planned. And then we will landscape that with grass. So.
Thank you.
I have one other question. If this is approved tonight, I don't know if it's going to be approved or not. Of course, it's up to the city council eventually. But I mean, are you building it yourself, or do you have a contractor?
No, we're building. I'm a
Well, that's right, you are,
a general contractor.
yeah,
So
I forgot about that.
so we're building that ourselves, and
How soon would you hope to have,
we're hoping to,
depending on weather, of course?
depending on weather, we're hoping that this spring we can start cutting and breaking ground on it. And it's been there for a while. It basically what happens is it ends up being a collection point for people to leave some of their garbage. And in the past, it was used for parking vehicles without as they're working on vehicles, they just park them in the lot. Now, I really didn't have an issue with the neighbors using it for some things, but I had a neighbor behind me who liked to keep an eye on things and make contact with the city officials. So, and then we just we have to do something with it. I don't want it to be we really do.
I just hate to see projects drag on and on and on. That's why I asked.
Well, we waited. We were ready to start. This process. We were just getting ready to do this, set this process up, and then COVID hit. And so then, of course, that shut everybody down. So now we're starting to get it back up. And of course, we're gonna have to do it frugal. We're gonna have to be frugal about what we do here too, because the prices have gone up so much. So. The plan is that we purchase a packet. If we have 3 units, we're going to try to purchase a packet for 3 units so that we can save on the purchase price of all the materials as well. So get a bulk rate for that and set it up. And we've reviewed modular builds, and we just don't feel like the modulars or the feel that those are. We don't really like them, to be honest with you, because it doesn't maintain the same consistency as the regular stick-built homes. They still have a lower roof line. Things just don't exactly look, they just don't fit in the neighborhoods.
Question for you, but you might need to expand on it. So looking at the picture, and I don't know what date this picture is, but I'm not seeing a sidewalk in front of that.
We would have to install a sidewalk.
Okay. And that would be a cost to you when you plan that all out?
That's on us.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that was covered regarding this. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Now is time that we ask members of the audience to come forward in either support or opposition to this case. Please remember to state your name, address clearly into the microphone for the record. Does anyone wish to speak in support of the case? Please come forward now. Okay, seeing none. Anyone wish to speak in opposition to this case, please come forward now.
Good evening. My name is Yuri Hart. I live at 1216 South Washington Street. We purchased our home in 2020. Since then, I've put a lot of work and money into remodeling the home, and I am in opposition of this for fear that I will lose property value. I have done quite a bit of work, and that is a legitimate concern of mine.
First, I missed your name.
Yuri Hart.
Gary, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. And then again, I'm sorry because I was trying to find what property is yours?
1216 South Washington.
1216.
Caddy corner, I think, right?
Right next to the church.
Okay, I got you here. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I have. Have you seen those duplexes across the street and over two, is it 2 blocks or 1 block? Have you been, there's a couple duplexes that just went up across the street and maybe a block over. Have you
Down from
happened
the
to
gas
see
station
those? They kind of look just like the duplexes that Mr. Stewart wants to build, but you haven't seen them?
I have not.
Okay. I just thought if you looked at those duplexes, it might, might help.
I got you. Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to see him.
Now, did you say you live directly across the street, or?
Across and two properties down, so there's the Baptist church there, there's a parking lot, and I'm right against the parking lot, of that Baptist
Okay,
church.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? If you don't mind me asking, sir, have you been able to see the pictures of what he's proposing for them to look like?
Yeah, sir.
Okay, all right. So I guess my next question would be, how do you think it would diminish your property value? And the reason why I ask is when new property is brought in and, they're newer, they're nicer looking, they look really nice, especially if they kind of keep it with the neighborhood. How do you see that diminishing your property value?
The reason why I feel that it would is most people generally don't want to live next to, not necessarily he's building an apartment per se, but a rental in general. And it's, like I said, just kind of a fear of mine. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. I can't guarantee it. Even if he changed his mind and decided to build a house, there is a risk of it being a rental, and that's something that's out of my control. But most people generally don't usually take care of rentals as would as they would if it was their own property per se.
Okay. And I get that, what you're saying. I just thought I'd ask regarding that, because if he doesn't do anything with that, how does that increase your property value?
It doesn't,
Okay.
which an argument could be made.
Oh, all right. Anybody else? All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Let's leave this here.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition?
My name is Sarah. I live at 1221 South Washington, directly next to the lot in question. So I've owned that property myself for 4 years. The land owned by Mr. Sterrett neighbors my property to the south. I am present today with many concerns about this development, one in particular being property maintenance and lack thereof. The lot has not been kept up to code for the entirety that I lived in this home. I have made many comments to the city about this, many complaints. My concern is that these rental properties will reflect this type of negligence for the foreseeable future that I am in my home. And I also have concerns that the frugality will be evident. So, one issue that I've had living next to this lot and the lack of maintenance with it is that I made several complaints about the weeds and no one is there to take care of it. They say there's not really anything in place to make him take care of it. So there's a fine that's sent out and then that's it. I've had to kill my own lawn because of the seeding throughout my entire property. And nothing has been resolved in these number of years since I've lived there. So again, my concern is that with these properties, what is going to be done about that? There's going to be more people living on this. Are they truly going to feel responsible for taking care of this? Or is he going to take up the responsibility for it? I'm not sure. So that's where my concern is.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Miss Sarah?
Sarah, so I know where your house is, and I know the property, and it's really a detracts from your house, your lawn. But don't you feel that something built there with a lawn would be better than what it is now?
My concern is that that it's probably not going to be cared for, even as it is now, or with those people being on there. I mean, maybe it will be, I'm not sure. Maybe people will move in that really do like that detail and taking care of their home as it is. But a lot of the rental properties that you can see around the city, most people don't really want to take care of it. Most people don't want to treat it as if it is their own home. So I don't know if that's going to be resolved. Who's going to take care of it? I'm afraid that's just going to be as it is right now. So with a house on top of it, multiple houses. So just piles of trash. So yeah, I hope I expressed myself enough on this. So anyone else?
Anybody else?
Did a very good job.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it an issue in your neighborhood right now that there are a number of renters not taking care of their properties?
No, actually, I think we only have one house that is a rented property, and we do have issues with them, but not to this degree. Most everyone takes very, very good care of their property. Like the gentleman before me stated earlier, we put a lot of value and time and money into what we have. So we just want to keep that up.
And the multi-unit that's already there, that's in the neighborhood?
I don't know what unit that is.
White House down on the corner, it's got 3 or 4 units in it, right on.
On the corner of Washington and 12th. As far as I know, there's just one family living there. I don't know about it being a multi-unit, so. Anything else?
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, my name is Angie Fouché, and I live at 1234 South Washington, directly across the street. One of my concerns, along with one of my concerns of my neighbors, parking. Parking is an issue at this point right now. Most people have 2, 3, 4 vehicles, maybe a boat, maybe a camper. We have a church at the end that does stuff numerous times during the week, and good luck parking in front of your house. It's okay. There's a church across the way, same thing. It's okay. But what's going to happen when you bring in these 3 apartments? I don't know. I've lived at this house. We bought our house in 1994. There's never been a house over there. The empty lot next to the 3 that he has, there was a very small house there when we bought ours, and it was tore down. I don't know if those lots are the same size, but wowzer, I can't imagine an apartment complex sitting on that little lot. We have 2 lots. So parking is kind of an issue. I just foresee that becoming a much larger issue. And I don't know about a multi-family house on our block that I know of. We don't have one. So I don't know what house you guys are talking about on the corner. I know several blocks down on Jackson, they've built some apartments over by Washington Park, but in our area, it is all single-family homes. We all know each other. You know, I know you don't want it repeated, but taking care of it is a huge issue. We get to look at weeds and dumped concrete, and bring in a bulldozer and flip it over isn't the answer. So, but I don't think he's complex that he wants to build is. If it's one house, okay, 2 houses, but I don't think multifamily is gonna benefit our area.
Does anybody have any questions?
I have one. Mr. Collins, what does a city's ordinance say about boats and RVs on the street? I mean, aren't they supposed to be behind a gate of some kind other than loading or whatever?
Mr. Chairman, the city's regulations on parking trailers on the street is somewhat of a moving target, but basically you're allowed to park those types of vehicles on the street for a certain number of days per month. I believe it's 5 per 30-day period, and if they're on there long-term, then they should be ticketed and removed by the police department.
Okay.
So as my property, I have a fifth wheel, we also have a trailer. So if those are in our driveway, then we're parking on the street. So if all the other neighbors have boats, trailers, and they're parking on the street, now we're adding all of these extra. I just see parking is gonna be a huge issue.
Does anybody else have any questions? If you don't mind me asking, how many vehicles, cars, trucks that you guys drive is on your property
Is on my property, or do we drive?
that you drive?
I don't wanna scare y'all. My neighbors already know. So my husband and I, our daughter just moved out, but, so we have vehicles that drive in the summer and vehicles that drive in the winter. At this time, we have a truck and a Suburban. I drive a Subaru. He's got a Z that's parked in the garage. We have a Mustang, a Volkswagen. I mean, they're not all out there at the same time, but as of now, we have our fifth wheel is in the driveway. We have a huge car hauler, and so at multiple times, we're parked across the street or we're parked in front of our house. So,
Okay.
and like I said, if the church has got something going on, you can't park on that street at all.
Right.
So,
And the reason why I ask you that question is because I have apartments across the street from me that they have their own parking, but they park on the streets as well. And I have 2 teenage daughters, plus my wife and I that drive, plus my college student that has a car. So it is a lot of vehicles, and if you don't have the space. However, it sounds like you park on the street sometimes with your vehicles and
we do. And,
stuff.
I mean,
So I guess my question is these guys will have 2 spots on their property. One unit has two parking spots.
tandem park.
But you're concerned with them having more vehicles the same as you?
So if there's gonna be 2, what if they have 3 children that live there that drive? So now you've got 5 vehicles per unit. I mean, I understand. We have 2 lots, we have a driveway, we have more room than most of my neighbors do. So, I mean, yeah, you don't know if it's gonna be a family of 6 or a family of 2.
Right.
How many people are driving, how many people are not, and you're adding 3 of those apartments in there. That's a lot of parking. Tandem parking doesn't really work. One person goes before the other one. I mean,
Oh, I know.
I just don't see how 3 is going to work with parking at all.
And I see where you're coming from. I'm just looking at it as, I don't know how many people could, but if they built 2 houses in that spot, how many vehicles would that be? Could be.
How many people are in that? I mean, I think we're pushing it with 3 in that spot over there. That's pretty much what my house is.
Right. So I'm not trying to, I'm just like thinking that you park in the street, you have multiple vehicles, but then what I'm hearing is we don't want people to have multiple vehicles to be taking up the spots also.
I don't know.
And either way,
I have room to pull stuff onto my property, which is fine, but there are other places that just have a driveway. And if they've got 2 kids, 3 kids, whatever that drive. So the parking is gonna become an issue at the end of the day,
yeah, I agree.
so.
Okay,
Okay,
anybody else? Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else speak in opposition?
My name's John Bell. I live at 1234 South Melrose, and I own the vacant lot next to these 3 that he's got. Now, my only question is, when we put all this in, I haven't seen any true prints on it, but what are you gonna do about garbage cans? Because the way my property is at 1234, and you have a church. You're not gonna have room for the garbage for multifamily homes. Furthermore, what I'd also like to know is that now that we've brought in, do we have any current pictures of that property right now? We've brought in freaking 2-foot elevation of that land. Now what you're doing is turning my other vacant lot that's right next to it into a
Please
drain.
address us, not the applicant. Please address us, not the applicant.
Okay, I'm just curious what's gonna
Thank
happen
you.
with this. You're gonna make a giant drainage right down the middle of that block. This is a residential area for houses. Build a house. That's not gonna hurt my feelings. But it's not a residential district big enough with the space in the alley or anywhere else to put multi-family homes in. It's not just the parking. We're talking about the garbage, the sewer. The city's old. We gotta redo the whole sewer down the street. We've had problems in the past. I was born in that house. There was nothing ever built on them 3 lots my whole life or before my life, because my dad lived there since 1974. There's a reason there was nothing built on them lots. Now I can understand bringing in the dirt. It's a giant sinkhole. The alkali water that runs underneath them houses is why there was nothing ever built there. That's like a stream underneath that property. That's why underneath my house I have to have a sump pump to run constantly. But if we build this and we keep raising that up, and then I have this vacant lot, the house next door to me is gonna be the drainage area to wipe the house out if we ever have a problem. That's all I gotta say, though, is I don't wanna bring down the value of the properties I have with multifamily homes. Now, that last vacant lot that I own, there was a house there. I remember what it looked like. There was a garage out behind it. It was all tore down. But if I ever want to build a house on that property, what's that property going to be worth putting a real house next to apartments? I get apartments being built in residential areas, but they're always built on corners, not in the middle of the frickin' block. If they're in the middle of the block, it's the whole block. But that's all I got to say. I own all the property.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I was just wondering if everybody understands that he's looking at putting duplexes, not a big apartment building.
No, I do understand that.
I
What
just
I'm
wanted to
saying
check,
is
because everybody keeps saying apartments, apartments,
The
apartments.
church that's right there next to my house is right up against the alley. Now, how are you gonna get rid of the garbage with multi-family structures? You can't put the garbage cans up against the church because there's not enough room for them to go there.
There's an alley there. Is the garbage not picked up in the alley?
They're gonna put the garbage cans on the other side of the alley? They're gonna have the garbage trucks drive both ways down the alley? Because the church literally, because that was AG Thriftway originally, it was a grocery store.
Yep. I grew up 3 blocks from there.
Right, so you know, but have you ever drove down that alley?
I have.
And the church is right up against the alley.
Yep.
There is no room for a garbage can right there, the whole length of that church. So then, are you gonna put more garbage cans up against my property? Am I gonna have to tear down my fence to make room? All my stuff's already built.
Gotcha.
I'm not opposing that the properties become nicer. They've always been that junky lot. But I am opposing
Since I was a kid
multifamily
In
and,
that neighborhood, they were always vacant lots with fallen down.
yeah, they played baseball in them, kids played in them all the time. I did when I was a kid.
Anybody else? You bring up some good questions, and we will, when it's time, hopefully, he will be able to, respond to what options there are. I know a couple in my mind, but that's not for me to, really say, so.
Well, the other question is how do I get prints of what he wanted to build on the property?
You would have to probably ask him.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Is there anybody else that's opposed to this?
Hi, my name's Casey Miller. I own the house at 1224 South Washington. My main worries and concerns is the uptick. I have a daughter, and we have a lot of children going down those streets. Having a single family home in either one of those lots, you know, it's usually a single family home. Those duplexes and stuff, you usually have 1 or 2 families apiece. I'm worried about the danger to the kids in the neighborhood with the uptick and everybody driving up and down the streets, what kinds of people are going to have in these places. Understandably, they're going to be newer, but the list in these areas for people that are staying in those kind of duplexes are usually not very standable. And then my other worry is if it changes to a R4, R3.
R3.
He can always change his mind and build something completely different than what he's saying he's going to build now.
Nope.
And at that point, it'll be too late for us to object to anything. That's all I got.
Anybody have any questions?
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Collins, the maximum on R3 is 3 units, or 4 units, but 3 units is all that can fit based on our guidelines for the city, correct?
Correct. It's 4 units is allowed per lot if you have enough space. And based on the size of these lots, they would actually be limited to 3 units per lot if they could get the off-street parking requirement and all the other setbacks and everything else. So it sounds like the applicant's only planning to do 2, but the last speaker was correct that there's no guarantee that is what would happen. They would be allowed up to 3 per lot.
Yeah, so that is the maximum, is it wouldn't be more than 3, is based on.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry. That's from Norris. Craig, can you, help, I don't have it in here. Can you expand on, with it being an R2 currently, what could he choose to build there if he chose to, as a R2?
Primarily single family per lot, so you could have 1 single family home per lot, total of 3.
Okay.
There are conditional use exceptions and things like that with, if the Planning and Zoning Commission were to approve, you can do duplexes under that. You can do accessory dwelling units, and you can do twin homes as a conditional use also.
Okay. So instead of a duplex that he wants to do, or
As an accessory dwelling unit, you could do a duplex, but one of the units would always have to be occupied by an owner, and the other one could be rented out.
Okay.
To somebody who's not in the immediate family.
Is there, I see on R2, he could do a group home, a grocery, a branch community facilities.
Are those under permitted or conditional? I don't have those.
Permitted use in an R3. So I'm just wondering is if C or a R2 is similar to that, that if you wanted to put in something like that, are those
Generally,
also? No? Okay, just wanted to double check that, thank you.
Group homes, yes. Churches, yes. But not like groceries and things like that, I don't believe. I'm going from memory, though.
Right, I get you, okay. And also, I think I'm confusing C2 with an R2, so, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this?
Mr. Chairman, and members of the Planning Commission, with your permission, I would like to provide a little bit of guidance on a few of the things that have been said tonight.
Yes, please.
The first is that we're really focused on zoning. We've had a lot of comments about the site plan and things like sidewalks and garbage cans and other things, but those are handled later under the site plan. They're legitimate concerns, but they're not really your focus tonight. Tonight is to look and see if the items that are listed on page 2 of your staff report, any of those things that could be built, are compatible with the neighborhood. But more importantly, there have been a couple comments tonight about we don't want renters in the neighborhood and we don't want those kind of people in our neighborhood. That cannot be the basis of your decision. Under the Fair Housing Act, we would be in violation. You can consider certainly parking, you can consider the aesthetics, you can consider all of those things, but singling out groups of people as unworthy to live somewhere is not in compliance with the Fair Housing Act. So I would just ask that no one base their decision on those things and to make your findings clear about what you are basing your decision on. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification and information. Appreciate it. So as I mentioned, I'm going to allow Mr. Tim to respond to some of the questions that you guys brought up. If you would like, Mr. Tim.
First, I'm going to respond to the lots and the maintenance of the lots. I'd like to turn and apologize because the lots became an afterthought for a while. And we did get there and clean them up anytime that the weeds got to a point. But I will be honest with you, I don't know about having to I never did see the grass ever be dead and replanted or redone, but I am sorry about that. And I hope that's okay if I look at her, because I have to, to apologize. We had somebody in charge of it, didn't get it done, but ultimately it's on me. And so that's one of the things, we have to do something. They become, once you have some lots and you're working and you're busy and you haven't done anything with them, sometimes they become an afterthought, and I will wholeheartedly admit to that. So we did maintain as we were supposed to, but we did the minimum. Okay, we were okay with the city and everything, but now we hope to really make a difference on that. So I'm sorry about that, and there's no argument there. On the parking. The parking is that the fact that I guess I don't know if I even should respond. Do I respond to these? Because
the parking is.
Okay.
The parking is.
Parking, we're going to maintain parking for, as required. It's like I do. I have 6 trailers. I have skidsters. I have work trucks. I have a van. We've got to find places for those things to be parked. And I have some parking at my home. But, I can't park the trailer, and I will tell you that, I'm not going to argue with anyone, but the trailers have been there longer than 5 days. And you know what? I've done it too, but temporarily, because I've had to find a place to park it. And we built a spot for our trailer to be parked off the road, so it's off the road. But, and we use, when we're under construction, we're allowed to park a little longer than 5 days if you're, doing construction and that type of thing. So that's usually what we do. But I really think that, I think we are not going to, I don't think building these duplexes are going to really create an issue for parking, because there's all, if people, really be honest with you, if you need, you find a place to park some of your vehicles, garages or so forth, because in actuality, my lot was being used as a parking space for the residents in the neighborhood. Doesn't matter who used it, it's just, it was being used as a parking space for them to work on vehicles. So, I mean, I guess if we leave the lots open, I put a, it's just, I think that's something that everybody's going to have to work together on, including me. On the other side of things, I wrote down diversity and opportunity for people to find places to live. You already addressed it. I like to think that the properties we have, and we don't have rentals and stuff, but the properties we build in our homes that we have, and I maintain my mother's house, and she's not able to live in that house anymore. And we thought about putting her there, and my son Michael, we're trying to provide an opportunity for him. But you know what? We're also looking at renting, and we want to have residual income for him in his future, and that's one of our plans. If we can do that, we would love to do it. On the other side of things is that yes, if this gets approved, I have 3 lots. I could change that. Yes, I could. But to be honest with you, we just can't figure out any way to put a 3rd unit in there, and it's going to make it harder for us to build, and it's also going to make it harder for us to rent if we want to rent. So we've talked about the garbage. We've looked at that. We have to have a setback. So the setback's going to have to be on our side of the property, on our side. And there are streets throughout the city of Casper where you have your garbage cans on both sides of the alleyway. So I do know that. On the other side of things, the traffic can be, and I would be concerned for kids, and that type of thing. But I'm hopeful that if we build the right spaces, the cars will be off the street. And and I do know that first come, first serve for parking on that street. So the folks who are generally there all the time are probably going to use up the parking spaces on the street anyway. And the folks that have an approach and have an opportunity for their own parking space, they'll probably keep their vehicles off the street. Probably. It doesn't guarantee that. Drainage, we haven't the lots have not elevated by 2 feet, but we did bring dirt in, and we brought dirt in, and we're trying to level it out, and we're going to level it out now that we're focused on doing this. And so I see the house. There is one house that's further to our south, which would be the south of the lot the gentleman talked about, his lot. They're elevated, I think, approximately about 1.5 feet, 2 foot off that lot as well, up above it. But that's a natural decline on the street, on the roadway itself. So the one house is going to be higher, then the next house will be lower, and you can kind of see how it tears down on that. But the one thing we have focused on is your lot, your house, and your yard, and your fence, and what we need to do to protect that, because we know that we are going to be a higher level. And we know that we have to make sure that would be the house which would be north of our lots. I believe that's correct, north of the lots, and that we have to do something with that. It's a nice fence, nice. The house is well kept. In the past 4 years, it's pretty well. I think it was pretty well kept prior to that too, as well. So, and I don't have any judgment on that. I'm just saying that I recognize that they're trying to do something with their homes. So we hope to improve everything if we can, and we could change our plans, which we could change our plans, and if we would have to replat the lots, and the only other option we look at is replatting and doing two larger size duplexes, with each lot being 60 feet wide. Instead of three 40-foot lots, it'd be two 60-foot lots with two duplexes. And that's the alternative plan that we have.
Okay, thank you. I offered to allow him to respond to any of you. Would anyone like to respond back one more time? Okay. Seeing nobody else wish to speak in either support or opposition in this case, the chair hereby closes the public comment portion to the public hearing and calls for a motion to approve, deny, table, or postpone to a certain date. Before that, is there any further discussion amongst the commissioners?
You have to put, excuse me, don't you have to put it on the table first before the discussion?
Oh, that's true. Sorry, my bad. My bad, sorry. So I call for a motion for approval, deny, table, or postpone to a certain date.
I move that we approve and forward to City Council ZOC 310, 2022.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion to approve, so moved by Commissioner McIntosh, second by Commissioner Winger. Now we can do a discussion.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think any residential area, you have to take your chances on parking. I mean, I can't stop anybody from parking in front of my house. I would hope this doesn't happen. I hope there's plenty of room for everybody. I went by there yesterday, and it's got to improve the area. So that's why I'm voting for it. I'm all for progress, proper progress in the city, organized progress, and I think this is going to help the area. I really do. So that's why I'm voting for it.
Okay. Any other comments?
I agree with Chairman Wingeter. Something has to be done with the lots. I mean, they've kind of been an eyesore for a long time. They haven't been maintained. They've been tall weeds. I mean, they currently, detract from the neighborhood. I really feel that they would, something is better than what they are now.
Anyone else? I would have to agree on this. I understand the concerns regarding a new place coming in, not knowing and having unknown. However, anything that will improve a property that's non-existent at the time, something has to be better than nothing, for the most part, especially something new like this. And to give families an opportunity to come in and have a place to live in, I think is always great. So I would agree with this. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, again, whatever decision we make, you still have a chance to go to the city council if you don't agree with what we come up with. So I just want to make that clear.
Yep. Thank you. There being no further discussion, we will now vote on the motion, which is to approve and send this to the city council. Please cast your vote.
With all members voting aye, the motion carries.
Your zone change has been approved by the commission. As Winger said, it goes on to the city council from here.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to mention also that the timing on that will probably be the end of January or beginning of February. By the time we establish a date of public hearing, we have to re-notify the neighbors, so they will be getting another notification in the mail, hopefully. The first reading, there's 3 readings at council, will be a public hearing, but they can speak at all 3 if they like. If we're approved, it would probably be approved sometime around March, end of March.
Thank you.
I just had one quick question. As far as being notified, none of us in close proximity, like got a letter or anything. All we saw was just a sign that's posted. But none of us personally got a letter. I don't know about you, but the rest of us did not. So as far as being notified by letter next time, is there a way that we need to, someone we need to address to make sure we receive that, or?
Mr. Chairman, this is the letter that, or the notification zone, the 300-foot notification zone that we did. And here's the list of property owners who were notified. That list is generated by the county assessor's data, and sometimes it's a little behind when, for instance, a property is sold or bought. It's not 100% accurate, but that's what we rely on. So I'm happy to, if they want to give me a call, we can check their name against this list, and it could have got lost in the mail. They could, for whatever reason, it might not be on the list, but I'm happy to take a look at it for them.
Okay. So if you did not catch that, if you were not notified and you're not on the list, for some reason list, please contact Craig at the City Hall here, and he will be able to make sure that you guys receive that letter for when it comes up regarding with City Council. Thank you for bringing that up. Greatly appreciate that. Okay, this concludes the public hearings for this evening. The next item on the agenda this evening is a special issue. The chair calls for the city planner to review the recommendations on proposed reduction in the minimum setback requirement in the PH Park Historical Zoning District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We threw this on the agenda kind of at the last minute based on a project that I'm about to tell you about up at the event center. Some of you may have heard about the Wyoming Sports Ranch project. And there was basically a discrepancy between the property line and the plat that you guys just approved up there as far as where the property line, where we would measure the setback requirement from. During that process, we found that the Park Historic District has a 30-foot setback requirement, which is somewhat excessive in our opinion. We don't do a whole lot of private developments in parkland, so it's never come up before now. We did look at setback requirements kind of across the board in the city several years ago, but Park Historic was not one of those districts that we reduced them all. When we reduced the rest of them, we didn't in Park Historic because frankly at the time we didn't anticipate any development happening in parks. But and for those that don't know, this is a parcel up by the event center that the city is going to be leasing to a private entity. And they've got a large sports complex that's going to be comparable to the existing event center. So we wanted to get your input before we have a council meeting set up for January 10th to discuss options. One option would be a rezone of the property, something like C2 that has no setback requirement. The other option is to take a look at our setback requirement and change the setback requirement to what we're recommending is 15 feet, which coincides with a typical utility easement along most property frontages. So even with a 0 setback in a commercial area, they still can't build in that 15 feet, so it really ends up being 15 feet. So basically, I'm not going to go read the staff report unless there's something you want me to go into, but that's the gist of it, is we just want you guys to weigh in, so I have that that conversation available for the council to discuss this on the 10th.
Thank you for that, and that was actually one of my questions was about rezoning, if possible rezoning it, but since you answered that, I appreciate that. Before I ask my questions, does anybody else have any questions regarding this?
No questions?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I certainly, with this project, I think it's going to do so much for this city and this whole region, and it's going to be good. So let's get her done, and I'm certainly going for the city's recommendation of doing away with the 30 feet, you know.
Okay. So my only question, I can't say the only, so I'll start with this one, and we'll see. So I read in the report that we don't know where this came from, the 30 feet. There's no indication of why they put that. So I get that. I guess my question, if I ask it right, is we know that the historical or the history museum that's up there, they would have been inclined to follow the 30-foot, right?
Correct, they would have been under the same regulation, but I believe that they more than met that.
Right. So I guess of anything like that, have we denied somebody that may have came up and asked us, hey, that's a little excessive, can we drop this down to this here? Has that ever came up anywhere else that similar to this situation?
Mr. Chairman, that's a good question. Not that I'm aware of. The only reason it came up in this case is if you look at the map, the undeveloped portion up on the upper right is the dirt lot. That's where the building is going to be sitting, and they're constrained on both now the north, which is where the street right away is, and now the south where the existing landscaping and parking is for the event center. They really have no room to move. In most cases on park land, there would be adequate room to move the building to get that 30 foot. In this case, they're very tight. So it would be a major redesign at this point in the process for them to redesign the building because they just don't have any room to go north or south.
Okay. Thank you, because I just want to ask, because if the historical, what is that called?
Three
Trail Center, thank you. If they asked about it when they were building it and said, hey, we want, and we denied it, I just want to make sure that we're always fair with everybody as much as possible regarding that, and we're not doing something special for somebody else.
But it would benefit them if they ever wanted to expand their facility. They would have additional buildable area.
Gotcha. So hearing that, then it would be in the best interest to lessen it. But I guess my question is, what's the purpose of having, whether it's 30, 15, why don't we just make it a no minimum for that there?
I can't say, other than it coincides with a typical utility easement along a street frontage, that would be the only justification for 15, but like I said, we do 0 in many of the commercial districts now, and they just understand that they can't build over those existing easements. So anything 15 or under, we're fine with.
Okay. Anybody's thoughts regarding this or opinions?
I think that we might as well just change it to 15 feet rather than go through rezoning and all that. I mean, we need, the sport complex is going to be huge for Casper, and I don't think we need to allow 15 feet to get in the way of what we want to accomplish up there.
Do you need a motion, Mr. Chairman, or?
Yeah, we would love to be able to say unanimous or 5-3 or whatever, or 5-1 or whatever the vote is, so that the council knows how, I can gauge how strongly you support that, I guess. That would be great.
So should I make the motion of changing it to, and then discussion? Do we need to specify the motion to the certain amount?
Mr. Chairman, I can walk you through that if you'd like to move to approve a change in the setback in Park Historic from 30 feet to 15. That would get you there.
I'll make that motion. You want me to? That motion.
He says, I move what he,
Whatever he says. fine with me. But I do have a question.
Do,
too.
since you made a motion, do we have a
I'll
second?
second it.
We have a second.
But I-
Discussion.
Okay, my one question, is this only for this sports center? It's
It would change
all
for
park.
All park historic.
Historic.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Which I agree with. Mr. Chairman, I think that having a 30-foot setback on parks is pretty much only owned by the city and maybe the county. There might be one inside the city limits, but it's public property that we're kind of wasting by having a 30-foot setback.
I agree.
Yep.
Okay. Now, if I want to make an amendment to it, I could. Is that correct, or?
Mr. Chairman, you are free to make an amendment. I can help you with that if you would like. If you really want to make one, that's up to you.
Well, I'd like to make an amendment of doing a no minimum. I get the 15 utility foot, I get that, but as Craig pointed out, they kind of know not to. If we absolutely need that, I get it, but
I think we're safer just to stick with 15.
What makes it more uniform with a typical
Typical would be 15, so.
15, correct?
well,
Or,
but he mentioned that we have quite a bit of commercials that don't have
Most commercial is 0.
zero.
Most residential is 15 or 18, so.
And this is technically to a sports complex, but I mean, it's up for all, but, 3 trails and all that, it's commercial, it's for the public. So, that,
So call for a vote?
So would you like to move to amend that?
Call for the
Yes.
question?
So would you like to move to amend the motion that was made to change the setback from 15 feet to 0 feet in the Park Historic District?
yes. I would like to make an amendment to set back from 15 to a no minimum.
Okay, and now you would need a first and second on your motion.
I'll second the motion.
The motion's on the floor,
I need a first and a second.
so are we voting now?
Nope.
No,
We have a first, waiting for a second.
Somebody say second. I firsted it.
Say that
Nobody?
again, I can.
I like 15.
okay.
Now you would vote.
Vote on the amendment.
On the original?
On my
or not?
amendment.
Now
On
you
the
would vote on the
amendment.
amendment.
Vote on the amendment
Okay.
first.
You would vote on whether you would like to change it from 15 feet to 0.
Okay, that's what this vote is.
That's what this
Yes.
vote is, from 15 feet to 0. Motion fails. The original motion is back on the floor to vote on or discuss.
To make it 15 feet.
Now the
30 to
original
50.
motion is back
Yeah.
on the floor to, yes,
15.
to make it
Original,
15 feet.
So if you want it
30 foot.
15,
Okay,
we're
okay, so.
ready to vote.
Okay, so are we, okay.
we're voting on the one you did, Terry.
I didn't vote yet, so put it back up so I can vote.
It's up.
Okay. Okay, okay.
With all members voting aye, the motion passes.
We're pros.
Thank you. We'll pass that along to the council on the 10th.
Thank you. The chair calls for any communication from the commission. Anybody have anything?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we had Metro Task Force meeting this past week. I was asked to be on that. We're looking at the Metro to see how we can make it better, since we're going to be using the Metro for Evansville and Mills. And so we're going to be doing monthly meetings to discuss different areas of it. And the January meeting, we're going to start out discussing the policies and procedures in each municipality so that we can get them to the point so that our officers don't have to be thinking this way when they're in Mills, this way when they're in Evansville, this way we're in the county. So it'll help them be able to do their job better. So that's the first focus we're gonna look at in January, so.
Awesome. Now, who will all consist?
The task force is huge. We've got people from the community. We've got the officers that, the lieutenant that's running. Chief McFeeters is on there. We've got Councilman Gamroth, Councilman Pollock. We've got veterinarian Richard Schwan. We have representatives from each of the communities, mayors, as well as their chief of the police, as well as Steve Friel from the county commissioners.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's going to be, we had a really good turnout and some really good discussion. So I think it's going to be very good for the city.
Fantastic.
Mike, Mr. Chairman, Mike, I have a question. There's so much land up there. I know it's only a task force considering all this, but can't you just build on to the present facility, build out?
Yeah, that's going to be part of our discussion over the next few months as to what we need to do, what we're going to do, so. And then also, Old Yellowstone District, last week we met with Jeffrey Starr down at the Hall on Ash, and he talked to us about what he has in store for that building, and it's going to be fantastic. He's going to be having later hours than downtown, so we may see some other folks increasing their hours in the downtown area for the coming seasons. But he's got some great ideas with his retail store for his makeup lines, as well as for selling his yak meat.
Awesome.
So we'll be able to purchase yak meat. Maybe we'll do a Planning and Zoning Commission yak barbecue.
There we go. I'm game for that.
So, and, that's all I've got.
Okay. Anybody else?
Under demolition, though, demolition, you're tearing down the YMCA, or they are they gonna tear down the whole building, or just, at one time I heard they're gonna keep the gym, or do you have any idea?
It's been years since I've talked to them. I know their original plan, I thought, was to do the entire building, but I don't know. I haven't talked to them recently, so I can't say if they've changed. So,
Okay.
sorry, I don't have that information.
And that's gonna be parking, no doubt, where they take down the old building?
Anybody else?
I have one more. Does anybody know, any council person know about what's going on with that new dog park that they started on a few years ago?
Terry, you're beating a dead horse here, buddy.
They started on it and then they stopped it.
Yeah.
I don't know, don't do dogs. So.
I'm gonna say no at this time. However, give it just a minute. We'll have our council liaison come up and maybe he could expand on that. And bringing that up, I do want to congratulate Councilman Vice Mayor Nell, soon to be Mayor Nell, for winning that there, as well as Ray being Vice President or Vice Mayor as well. I do truly want to congratulate you guys. It was good to see that in the news and be able to hear that. I didn't watch it when it took place. So, and then I want to thank staff for the Christmas cards that was sent out with each one of you guys signing it. I know I greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure the rest of us all appreciate you guys being willing to take the time to send that to us. I will call for communication from the Community Develop Director or City Planner. Nothing tonight. Future Mayor Nell.
By the way, Bruce, I did bring cookies.
Did you?
I knew that'd cheer him up.
We were at John Henley's goodbye today, and the comment came up that we've only got 2 more council meetings left for the year. And somebody, I'm not going to say who, asked if they thought Michael would bring cookies. And I said, well, I think we can demand it. It'll be his last one. He makes great cookies. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. I am proud to be our next mayor, and I look forward to the challenges that that'll bring. It'll be fun. With that said, I will be leaving the liaison position for the Planning and Zoning Commission, as Mr. Cathy has expressed interest in it. And him and I are actually going to trade, because he's on the CNFR board, and he will be gone this year for the CNFR. So he asked me if I would take that over, as I've been the alternate, which I'm happy to do. And in return, he will take over the Planning and Zoning liaison position. And, you know, I think it'll be really good for you guys. Unfortunately, due to my wife and I's plane crash and the medical issues we had, I missed a lot of meetings this year. And so, so I think it'll be good to have him here. And Steve's he'll be a good liaison for you. I was also glad to see that, no offense, but that you kept it at 15 feet. This is a city project, and I think that they desired that based on whatever may come in next to that building. And that, just to give you a rough idea, the floor of the event center is approximately 22,000 square feet. This building will be 156,000 square feet of floor space under one roof, with turf fields, courts, and this is all funded privately and through the McMurray Foundation. It's going to be a spectacle for our community, which in turn is probably going to create quite a bit of development in that area. And I think because of the size of buildings and different type of businesses in there, I think that 15 feet is really important. So I'm thankful that you guys did that. Thank you for doing that. And I think that's all I have. Terry, you had a question?
Well, it might not be that important.
Everything you say to me is important.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Councilman, or Mayor-to-be. But what about this dog park east of town behind the cancer? I forget, you know, where they have Dr. Tobin's offices. They started on it about 3-4 years ago, and then they stopped. I think the McMurray's donated the land and some money for it. Do you have any idea? Could you bring it up in a work session?
Can I tell you the truth? I don't have any idea, but I will find out, and I will have Mr. Cathy bring that to you next month. I can tell you that I've only been on council for 2 years, and that project has been halted long before I came along, so I'm unaware until tonight of anything about it. But I will find out, and I will tell Mr. Cathy that you're interested in that, and I will have him bring you that information next month.
Thank you.
Sure, happy to do it. Yep. Once again, it's been a pleasure working with all of you. I appreciate this is thankless work. You don't get paid. You show up and you take away your evenings from your families, and but it's important work. And our city council, in particular, the one I'm on, takes great pride in the work that you folks do. We take we actually don't even debate it much. We have so much faith in you guys that you vet these projects before they ever come to us, which is wonderful for us to have a group of commissioners that can do that for us. I anticipate this one tonight. We'll probably see more of them, and but your rule is usually very good with us. And you know, one of the thoughts I had just to share with you is whether they put in a duplex or a multifamily home, it's not going to make a difference in the traffic. My wife and I have no children at home, and I think we have 9 vehicles. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have facilities and storage units, a big shop to put my cars in, but we know people with 5 and 6 cars, and whether it's a duplex or a single family home, it's not going to alleviate their traffic concerns. So I was glad to see that you did push that through. We are in dire need of housing in Casper, Wyoming right now. In fact, when I sold my house, which I just did, I closed on it in 2 weeks. I had to find something still in my ward if I wanted to remain on council and become the mayor. And we ended up purchasing a little, literally a shack of a place on Washington Street that we've already gutted and redone, and we're very proud of it now. But the only rental we could find was $1,850 for a 2-bedroom rental. And I said, no way am I throwing that kind of money away on rent. So we bought a place and just redid it. But we're fortunate to be in a position to do that. We have so many people. It came up at we had our 3rd reading for the anti-discrimination the other night, and it passed. And yeah, I was very thankful for that. I was a huge proponent of it. But one of the things that came up in that was that includes housing and it includes employment. And that was really bothering some people. And I said, well, and the lady stood up and said that they had a gay couple that came and tried to rent the apartment. They didn't rent it to them. Could they be in trouble? And so she was asked, what process did you use? She said they had over 25 applicants for that one apartment. They took the first one that came in the door. And I said, then no, you can't be. If you said they can't have it because they're gay, now you've got a problem. But the fact that you used the system you used and took the first people that walked in the door, you know, so be it. But it raised my eyebrow thinking 25 people for one little 2-bedroom apartment. We have a huge housing shortage. So I'm very thankful that you guys did that. I hope he carries through, and I hope he puts 2 duplexes on each one and opens up 6 rentals for people in our community, because it can only help. So anyway, thank you for all you do. I hope to see you on the street, and if I can ever do anything for you, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to do that.
Well, and I don't know if you got the invitation, but after this, we are going to Wine and Spirits, and would more than welcome you.
Where is Wine and Spirits?
Behind the Poplar Mini Mart.
Oh,
On Poplar Street.
Mike's place. What is the date today?
Today's 8th.
Is that the one that Liz and them, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did get the invite. We'll stop there on our way home.
That'd be great.
Yeah, because we are going to get home. My wife's been a huge peach. And joining me tonight, we hurried here from dinner, and we've got football. We're big football fans, but we will stop by and have a quick one with you, and thank you again.
Thank you.
I want to thank you again. You know, if I'm not down there, I'm watching you guys on TV.
Oh, Terry.
And I know the pressure, and I appreciate everything you guys have done.
Thank you. Last week was pretty challenging, I'll be honest with you. But when you feel like you're doing the right thing and you have convictions and you stand behind them, it makes it pretty easy, really. So, thanks again.
Yep. The chair calls for communication of Historical Preservation Commission or Yellowstone, which you kind of talked about that. I know that in our packet, it talked about historical preservation. If you didn't get a chance to read it, please do. No comments on that?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if anybody saw, but Casper was awarded this week.
Oh, yes.
The designation as a World War II heritage city community, which is, there's only one per state that's awarded, and Casper got that because of the history and that we have with the airport and the Army Air Base and all that. So that's a kind of a big deal for historic preservation. It was spearheaded by the county historic preservation folks because the airport is in the county, but the city kind of joined that process and supported it, and it was kind of a joint designation city-county. So we're very proud of that.
You should be, yeah.
Yep.
I apologize for forgetting. I read that and I was like, that is way awesome. So,
On the sad note, talking about the service, there's 2 MiGs out at the airport that Jim Good had. But somebody bought them from out of state. They're going to be shipped out of state. And it's a sad note to lose them. Russian MiGs.
yeah. Chair calls for anybody else in the audience, which there's not. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission, as was stated, John Henley, my boss, the city attorney, is retiring on Friday, which will give him a wonderful chance to spend more time with his grandkids. He's an exceptional lawyer and an even better human being. we're going to miss him a lot. But he's filled in a few times for me. In the years that I've been on the planning commission, I think I've missed 5 or 6 meetings total, but he's filled in a few times and wanted me to extend his thank you for your work. He really appreciates you, and send his warmest regards.
Awesome. If you get a chance to talk to him, I'd like to have lunch with him, so if you'd bring that up to him, and I'll try calling him before he leaves, but if you'll bring that up to him, I greatly appreciate it. So, anyone else? All right. The final item on the agenda for this evening is adjournment. The next meeting of the Planning and Zoning is scheduled Thursday, January 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m. There being no further business to conduct, the chair would entertain motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Having a first and a second, please cast your vote.
All members voting aye, the motion carries.
This meeting is adjourned. I hope everybody is going to